Scorpio Rising 2022 is letting go of yourself and an old identity in order to find a partnership that you know you need to focus on. And I am not, you all know me, I am not one to say, find your other half, like change your, no, you do you. But part of you doing you this year is around really shedding skin because there's someone or something out there that you know you need to unite with for your highest good. So if you're excited to dive into what exactly 2022, the year ahead, holds for you and your rising sign, make sure that you like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you are always up to date with what the stars have in store for you. Side note, if the scenery, lighting, what I'm wearing, everything changes throughout this, it's because 12 rising sign videos is going to take a couple days to get through since these are pretty extensive. So starting out on Sunday, we're going to see how this goes, but yeah, there's going to be some like cut paste, you know the drill. And if we have not met yet, I am Maren. I am an astrologer that uses traditional Hellenistic Greek techniques, also the tropical zodiac and whole sign houses in order to do the kind of astrology I do. So the way that this is going to go, that it's been divided up, is major periods for your sign, the eras of 2022, then going through the major important dates for what to hit at the end, so you can be like, this is in my calendar, this is in my schedule, etc. Macro then micro. Let's get into it. We start out the year with the You Better Work Bitch period, which is basically January into March, which is, for you, the You Better Work Bitch is around them, whoever they are in your life. Starting out on the 18th, Uranus stations direct in your 7th house, which is marriage and committed relationships and deep partnerships. It's not always romantic with the 7th house, but it often is, unless you have like a best friend or a business partner. Uranus is innovation and very lightning fast, sudden energy. And with the North Node entering your 7th house on the same day, which is ambition and focus, and the South Node entering your 1st house on the 18th, Eclipse is entering that area of your life. The South Node being around letting go, and it's in your 1st house of self. It's like there's a lot of focus on sudden urge to be with them. Start of the year. On January 29th, Venus also stations direct in your Capricorn 3rd house. So the Venus retrograde as we enter the year was around reconsidering your communication or how you spent your day-to-day time. And now with it direct, you are ready to move forward with a communication or even commute or like a writing plan that you've been thinking about and is more aligned with your interests. Now, Jupiter has newly re-entered your Pisces 5th house. So Jupiter, planet of growth, was in Pisces over the summer, and that's your 5th house of creativity, romance, and children. So now with it entering there for the first part of 2022, there's a focus on growing your romantic life, and that's why I think it adds up to a lot of a focus on this committed relationship being a romantic one, maybe even marriage. The Saturn-Uranus square is still within 2 degrees. So Saturn in your 4th house is restriction or seriousness around home and family matters, and Uranus in your 7th house is more electric or more sudden energy with this partner that is like disturbing the kind of seriousness that you have at home right now. But things really do get crazy Pisces into Taurus season. I'm calling it crazy time. And for you, it's literally around your romantic life. Or if you're really not in a relationship and this partnership is like not romantic, then it's probably your creative life. But there's a lot of planets, a lot of dreamy, delusional, idealistic planets in your Pisces 5th house of creativity, children, and romance right now. There's a really beautiful new moon March 2nd that you could use to set an intention or launch something new creatively or romantically. And April 12th, the Jupiter-Neptune conjunction in your 5th house is really beautiful, very dreamy energy, not very realistic, but the 5th house is kind of not realistic anyway. On April 29th, Pluto stations retrograde in your Capricorn 5th house. So Pluto retrograde is rethinking the vast transformation, and for you, it's in your 3rd house of communication and writing projects. So you're going to be starting to rethink that. April 30th, there's a solar eclipse in your 7th house. World events will catalyze a very intense new beginning in a partnership or committed relationship. And on May 10th, Jupiter enters your Aries 6th house. Jupiter, planet of growth and expansion, is entering your 6th house of coworkers and pets, and also possible health routine to help health issues. On May 16th, there's a lunar eclipse in your 1st house. A lunar eclipse is a letting go that usually lasts around 6 months, but is catalyzed around this time in your 1st house of self and identity. Now, the summer has a lot of retrogrades, so it's a lot of slowing down, but June 4th, Saturn stations retrograde in your 4th house of home and family. You're rethinking boundaries, structure, or kind of boundary that you have put up around restricting yourself around this topic. On June 28th, Neptune stations retrograde in your 5th house, rethinking some less realistic or idealistic energy in your 5th house of creativity, romance, or children. On July 28th, Jupiter stations retrograde in your 6th house, rethinking the growth or more focus on improvement in your health or your coworker dynamics that you've implemented over the past few weeks. And on August 24th, Uranus stations retrograde in your 7th house. So kind of backtracking, rethinking some of the more sudden relationship events that have happened. The last part of the year, October onward, is the spooky shit goes down part of the year that's a bit eerie and dark. And for you, it's around finding clarity and what you really want as an individual. So October 23rd, Saturn stations direct in your 4th house, finally moving forward with implementing some of the boundaries or restrictions around home, family, property that you've had on your mind. On October 25th, there is a solar eclipse in your Scorpio 1st house, a new beginning around identity that you are ready to really soar and be recognized for. On October 28th, Jupiter retrograde enters your Pisces 5th house, so going back to rethink romance, creativity, or children in your life as you were thinking earlier in the year. Then on October 30th, there's a Mars retrograde in your 8th house. Mars retrogrades are about rethinking how we get things and how we go about working, and for you, it's in your 8th house of investments. So you're going to be rethinking money and investing in your life. On November 6th, there's a lunar eclipse in your 7th house, a letting go of something involving committed relationships. And on November 23rd, Jupiter stations direct in your Pisces 5th house. Finally, moving forward with the final things you're going to be doing to grow and have more optimism in your 5th house of creativity, romance, or children. Then we close out the year on December 20th with Jupiter really entering your Aries 6th house of physical health issues, how to solve them, physical health routine, and coworkers. We started the year with a Mercury retrograde from January 14th to February 3rd between your Aquarius 4th house of home and family and your Capricorn 3rd house of siblings, routine, or communication. On May 10th to June 2nd, this is between your 8th house of investing and your 7th house of committed relationships. September 9th to October 2nd, this is between your Libra 12th house of mental health and your Virgo 11th house of networking. And December 29th to January 18th, this is in your Capricorn 3rd house of communication, day-to-day routine of commuting, or siblings or neighbors. This Venus retrograde we start out the year with until January 29th will be in the same part of your sky of values that you're rethinking around communication, siblings, your day-to-day grind. There's a Mars retrograde October 30th until January 1st, 2023 in your 8th house of investing, so you're rethinking how you go about getting those things that you want that involve financial investing. And there's a Jupiter retrograde July 28th to November 23rd between your 6th house of coworkers and health issues or physical way of maintaining yourself and your 5th house of creativity, children, and romance. So Jupiter retrograde is rethinking the growth, expansion, or optimism you have in mind. Saturn retrograde is a rethinking of boundaries, structures, and restrictions. For you, it's in your 4th house of home, family, and property from October 23rd until January 1st, 2023. Uranus will be retrograde August 24th until January 1st, 2023 as well in your 7th house of committed relationships and partnerships. And Neptune is retrograde June 28th until December 4th in your 5th house of romantic relationships, rethinking the more idealistic things in that area of your life. Finally, there's a Pluto retrograde April 29th until October 8th in your 3rd house of communication, so rethinking the communication that you do on a really deep, profound level. The eclipses, as we have talked about, are in your 1st house, 7th house axis, with the south node of letting go or less focus in your 1st house, and the north node of a lot of focus or really moving forward in your 7th house of committed relationships. So April 30th, solar eclipse, a new beginning in your 7th house of relationships. May 16th, lunar eclipse, a letting go in your 1st house of self. October 25th, solar eclipse, new beginning in your 1st house of self. And November 6th, lunar eclipse, letting go in your 7th house of committed relationships. So if you have any comments below on how you think that these major themes could be playing out for you, do let me know down below. Would be very interested to hear from you. And I think that all of us with the same rising sign could get a little bit out of seeing how we think each other's lives are going to be playing out for the year ahead. The tarot card that we have for Scorpio risings is the Queen of Currencies, aka the Queen of Wands. So queens are emotional support and the life or yeah, support system, morale that you have going for you, and wands are creativity, fire, motivation energy. So how do you get motivated for your creativity? This seems like Queen of Wands is a very like spontaneous feminine energy, so it seems like maybe you're going after someone in a relationship that embodies this like soft femininity or creativity, and it looks like that is like honestly the focus for the year, that you're letting go of yourself to focus on this like really entertaining, very creative, very stimulating person. So as always, if you did enjoy this, would appreciate a like, a subscribe, a notification bell, a comment. It all helps. I appreciate it. I look at the comments. I look at who's showing up. I really love it. I hope that you like these videos. Otherwise, take care, and I would say I'll see you next year, but like I'll be making a fucking video tomorrow. So I'll see you in the next one.